Testosterone, we have a problem.
This is Outside the Manosphere, where two guys with zero credentials dive past the cliches of masculinity and try to become better friends by actually talking to each other. It's weirdly hard, but we're doing it anyway. Join us. Hello and welcome to the inaugural episode of Skip and Carlos Outside the Manosphere, a non-toxic bromance. My name is Carlos.
My name is Skip.
We are going to start with what this is exactly. And I will just throw this right to you since I did the introduction reluctantly, Skip. What is this to you?
Yeah, so to me it's a lot of things, but originally, when I wrote you and I said let's do a podcast, it was right after one of my favorite podcasts went off the air, 538, and I was like, "Oh, I'll do something with data and the news." And then, we started talking and you said a couple things to me about doing a podcast. One was you don't want to be angry all the time, and that's what the news does.
Exactly.
And I thought, yeah, that sounds right. So you said a couple things, and one of them was that you wanted to do something that you'd enjoy and that would be joyful, and the other thing was something to develop, our relationship and become better friends and get to know each other more. And both of those things just kind of like shot me dead center. Yes, that sounds great. That sounds like exactly what I want to do. So for me, that's kind of the organizing principle that you set out and that I agree with. But it's also talking to the manosphere writ large and or talking back against it, I guess. I don't know, because there's a lot of toxicity and, self-involvement and kind of just weird narratives that get tossed around and echoed in that little bubble. And there's, for my part, there's a lot of great podcasts, and I'm sure that there are other things that do this, but for me, I haven't heard one that's just about kind of like a new positive masculinity, if that makes
Right.
sense,
Right.
or maybe not even just a new positive space for men, I guess. What about you?
Well, I was going to say there are seemingly a lot more than I actually realized by evidence of when you sent me that link for the, what was it, Fathers in New York
Yeah.
doing like a group stroll, and there was like 30 of them, and there's like a couple thousand membership. But to answer your question, for me, well, when you had first kind of mentioned it in passing, I had thought of a podcast for years, but I've just never really gone for it because, what in the world does anybody want to hear from me about? And I still feel that way. So I never really had any reason to, or no clear direction. But when you said that, I would just I kind of zeroed in on it, and I'm like, wow, well, if Skip's bringing it up, and we've known each other for a long time, and we'll get into our history a bit, but. I thought, well, what a great way to get to know Skip a little bit better and have a or regular dialogue with him. But I think you had said something like a topic would have been like Elon Musk and like, what, are billionaires actually happy, or something along the lines. And you had
Yeah.
a really intelligent thing to say about it. And I thought, well, I haven't really thought about it. And you've done this throughout our friendship where you brought up something just highly intellectual, and I'm just sort of like scratching my head like an ape. And that was a concern of mine. I said, you know what, Skip thinks on his feet, and I'm not as quick that way. And I do have opinions, and I have intelligent things to say.
Yeah.
But the stress of like sort of tearing down a topic that maybe I haven't really given a ton of consideration to, and call me lazy if you want. That's fair. Doesn't really bring a lot of joy into my heart. I was like, man, this is it'll be a chore. It'll be hard, and I want this to be fun. If we're gonna do this at all, like I'd like to enjoy, connecting with you, and then that's kind of when you brought up the manosphere and the bromance aspect of it all, and yeah. I just think that at our age, we're both 45. You're 45, yeah.
46.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes. You're
Yeah.
like almost exactly a year
Almost
older
exactly.
than, yeah. So I mean, guys our age. I mean, I've always been. We're getting into off topic a bit, but I've always been very introverted, as we were kind of chit chatting before. Not shy, but introverted. And I keep my friends small, like my group of friends,
Yeah.
and I have very few of them, really, if I'm honest. I
Yeah.
know a ton of people, but not a lot of people that I'm super close with. And you and your wife Jess, we were all pretty cool when we were living in the same town, and I miss that sort of camaraderie and just intellectual exercise that we had. But again, it occurred to me that I don't know a ton about you. For all the years we've known each
Yeah.
other, there's a lot that I don't know about you, which is kind of leading me into why we're doing it. Really,
Yeah.
we are addressing aspects of the manosphere. Well, you know what? Before we do all this, let's define the manosphere. What is the manosphere to you?
Yeah, so for me, it's this kind of echo chamber that's online and in social media, and to some extent, I guess there's some network TV, but I think that's created largely to get clips and put into social media. But it's sort of this echo chamber that just gets progressively more more arcane with its ideas of masculinity. And to the extent, like my wife was showing me a thing about men thinking it's not manly to wipe your butt and stuff. And I just can't imagine. I can't, I can't imagine a version of masculinity that includes that.
Did did
and
you ever
and
follow up on that? Like that was I never really I read the kind of the brief
yeah.
comments on the Reddit thing, but I wonder if that's real because that is bananas to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't personally check up on it, and it may not be real. And I was like, no, this can't be right. But my
Yeah.
wife was like, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I was like, I just can't. Like, at some point, masculinity becomes code word for incompetent. Like,
Yeah, sure. I think they're kind of synonymous. Yeah,
yeah. So, like,
at a low point, I would say.
yeah, yeah, and I think a different definition for bravery, a different definition for manliness and competence and those things, like those seem like important messages. Speaking as a guy with a couple boys that he's raising, like I want this to be a narrative that's out there for somebody to find if they need
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I think the manosphere is. It's just kind of like I think it's a place that people go to hide. It's a place that people go to hide because they can't deal with the world. They're not competent. They're living in their mom's basement or whatever, and they don't like how mean and nasty the world is for them.
Yeah.
But really, it's the world. There are some mean and nasty things out there, but it's largely a mirror, and people give back to you a lot of what you put out. So if
Uh,
you're being mean and nasty, you're gonna have a mean and nasty life.
100% agree.
Yeah.
I really don't have a lot to add to that. Actually, I think it's a pretty defined thing anyway. The manosphere. I think there are a lot of reasons why it's kind of returned to an old style of thinking, whereas the man is in charge. Or I think I'd seen what was it? Some Fox News. And I don't want to make this too political, but this is an
Right.
extreme
Right.
example of it was a Fox News host, and I won't say his name, but I mean anyone who pays attention will know. Had this thing of I don't know if he was selling it or just promoting it on a show. It was about like testicle tanning, and it was like it was like a UV light that you like place over your balls, and it was just so absurd. And I think it's just the emphasis on that. And what I was going to say was there are a million reasons why we've returned to this sort of way of thinking. I think there's well, a million different social reasons why that I think I don't want to necessarily pounce on that and really unpack it all like in one
Yeah.
sitting
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever. But like I think we're going to be exploring this stuff as we well get to know each other better.
Yeah.
I think. But so full circle, the reason why we're
Yeah.
doing this, at least for me, is we're both middle aged guys on little icebergs of isolation. As I mean, when you're a kid, you're with a group of kids, your neighborhood kids, your classmates, your whatever that you just kind of grow with, and we all just sort of separate. And I think that's true of women as well. But we just slowly and slowly isolate and drift apart, and we find ourselves as we get older just with fewer and fewer people around us. And it doesn't have to be that way. And I think for men specifically, they don't try. And I'm generalizing, obviously. There
Yeah.
are
Yeah. Yeah.
plenty of very sociable men who are happy and are doing great. And I'm not unhappy. I'm just saying that I'm very isolated, and I put myself there, and I recognize
Mhm.
that, and I think, well, I've always liked Skip. We've had healthy, strong debates in the past. that we largely agree on pretty much everything. Why would I not be? I remember even you and Jess sent us a Christmas gift about a few years ago, right? Pretty soon after we left
Yeah,
Prague.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I just thought, man, like we need more friends like that in our lives. The
yeah,
people that would do
yeah.
something like that. And anyway, that was years ago. Obviously, I haven't acted on it
Yeah.
until just now. But anyway, that's why I want to do this.
Yeah. Well, not to get away from your serious points, but I was thinking about that tanning your balls thing.
How could you not?
and and the under over on how many guys that do that actually ever get somebody that's going to look at their balls. Because
That's
that
funny.
seems like a really lonely group. Um,
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean that, and for that to be like a conversation piece, like I don't
right.
know. Like it's so contradictory.
Well,
It's
it honestly it seems like something that would come up in a weird way, like, wow, your balls are really tan.
let's have a look, buddy. Whoa, yeah, that's a healthy orange.
Yeah. In any case, yeah. So I don't remember what the question was exactly, but
Well, sorry, I'm meandering, but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
why are we doing this?
Oh yeah. You know, for me, I think you hit a lot of hot points for me, I guess. You know, just to be blunt, I'm lonely. You know, kind of that same thing. Like I've had a lot of acquaintances always, but I was extroverted when I was young, but I'm very introverted now, and it takes a lot for me to like really get close to somebody. And there was a long period where I was just kind of fine with solitude. Like I'm pretty good on my own. But after sort of years of just being alone, I mean, I've got my wife and my kids and stuff, but you know, like as far as friends, I mostly was friends with ladies, and then at a certain age all the ladies kind of go, well, we want girls night, and then you're like, but you were all my friends and now I don't and I don't like sports or cars or anything.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so it's kind of, you know, the people that I want to be friends with are people like you that are introverts that are like on their own. Where do you even find these people? Like
well, they're
where
they're
do you,
introverted. You find them in
right, yeah.
their houses.
Exactly. Just start knocking on doors. Are
And
you lonely and not crazy?
you
Um,
you knock on the door. Hey, can you come out and play?
yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, one of our friends that we have now, he comes over and plays games with us sometimes. And, you know, somebody else had suggested, oh, you guys seem like you'd get along. So I wrote him a text and I was like, you know, making friends as adults is weird. Do you want to hang out sometime?
Yeah,
Never met you. But like, yeah, I think for me, you know, it's learning to manicure these relationships that we're, especially as men, we're never trained to really do this. And I
right.
think there are plenty of men out there that are social, that have, you know, people that they go to sports games or whatever. I don't have anything like that. I'm not a sports guy. I'm not into cars. I don't have shows that I go to. So just finding somebody that I can like meet and talk to and hang out and have a beer with,
Right.
and just like chat and have real conversations. That's really what I've been looking for. And I think there's an epidemic of this because we aren't raised to kind of reach out in that way.
Well, you know what? Our age group, definitely. I think the younger you go, I feel like, and I hope anyway, that it is changing. I think a lot of the younger kids are, I mean, they have social isolation problems on a next level. They're terrified of like communicating with people. And I've seen this with my own eyes. So, and I am generalizing again, but I think a lot of them are very, well, compared to people our age, very in touch with their sort of feelings. But I wanted to say one thing when you were talking about, yeah, there's tons of guys that go out to sports bars and they do
Yeah.
things like that. And like you, I don't care at all about. I've always called sports one of my major intellectual deficiencies because I don't give a crap about them. And my father-in-law, he doesn't love sports, but he loves cars, and he's
Yeah.
obsessed with like F1 racing. And boy, I mean, he must be so disappointed that his two son-in-laws are just not into it. But anyway, what I wanted to say was, yeah, lots of these people they go to to sports bars and they watch their games and they drink beer, whatever. But without beer, without alcohol present, like I wonder how surface level their conversations are, because you can hang out with somebody all day long, but if you're just chatting, football,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
That's a great connection. I'm not saying that to rule that out or
Right.
anything, but it is a good connection. It's a good bond. But like, man, you just never get into it. You know, you're not going to go to them. You're not going to lean on them when you need something, or emotionally, or
Right.
like, or even if your dog dies or whatever, you're not gonna cry on their shoulder because it's a dog. Come on, you know what I mean? But
But
like,
but I think this is part of the thing is I think for me, I look at some of those relationships and I don't know, like I don't know, I'm not inside their heads. I
yeah,
don't know if that's really all some people are looking for. Like a lot of men just really aren't in touch with kind of any emotionality or any deep thinking. I mean, I think a lot more people and more men than we think just aren't kind of existing on that level a lot of the time.
right.
And, I think encouraging introspection and thought about who you are in your relationships is part of why I think this is like a nice, healthy thing. And it's something that's kind of important to be a be nervous and be vulnerable and put it out there for people to see so that they can see they can see it go wrong or go right and kind of say, okay, this is something maybe I want in my life. And so in any case, yeah, I don't know if we ever really answered what this show is. So for me, this is a show about, us kind of developing our relationship, talking about what it's like to be a middle-aged man who's reaching out for friendship. I know that we're planning on getting to know each other better and talking about issues like what's jealousy like for us, or what's manliness, or
What's manliness? How do men deal with depression? Really, anything within the manosphere. You know what I mean?
right,
Like, why is how many times have I put my foot in my mouth saying something sexist that absolutely didn't mean, but
right,
it comes out that way, and then you're a jerk. You know what I mean? And rightfully so.
yeah,
But it's just, how do we move away from that, or
become conscious of it,
live, or
and
yeah, exactly, or
yeah,
just live through it, stuff like that. But I like you're returning back to that, because I do want to remind anyone listening that this is our first episode. We're not super disorganized, but we're still nailing some things down. So
yeah,
this is going to be
yeah,
an ongoing process. We are going to be developing it as we go, but primarily we're going to be discussing ourselves, essentially, at least for the beginning. I mean, where to get to know each other, because like I said, we said before we had even been recording, like, I don't remember if you have any siblings, and I feel like maybe I knew at one point, but that
mhm,
information just gone from my brain, and that's a pretty big thing. For as long as I've known you, we've known each other, at least 10 years, at least 10 years, I'd say.
at least, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, we are in separate cities. We'll come to that in a minute here. But primarily, I'd like to get to know you better in a joyful way. I kind of want to zero in on what's in your brain personally. The manosphere stuff is going to flower up as we bring these things up, and then maybe later on, as episodes progress, we can morph it into something a little different. I don't know. We're still kind of tinkering, but
Yeah, we're playing. I think there's some playful features that we're talking about including in the future, but I think the first thing that we had talked about doing as well is there's these questions. Is it New York Times? What is it?
yeah, New York Times. We're
So yeah, New York Times. Yeah. Go ahead.
36 questions. I'm going to mess up the title. 36 questions to fall in love.
To to fall in love, I think.
Yeah.
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 So we're going to develop our bromance by asking each other these questions and answering. And this is actually, I don't think this list existed when me and my wife, or maybe it did, but when me and my wife were courting each other,
Yeah.
yeah,
I,
we'd
I I love
find.
this, by the way. I love that you guys did this. It's such a great.
Yeah, it was a great date. We'd just get like 50 questions. We'd just ask each other and we'd talk about it. And, one question could go, gosh, sometimes it was 5 minutes, sometimes it was 50. So it's a really fun thing. It's a really fun way to like learn about each other and hear kind of what's going on in the other person's head. So that's one of the first things I think we discussed doing. And yeah, we'll have some other rotating content and things like that. But it's largely two guys getting to know each other over a long distance call.
Which is I think it's you're being a fly on the wall, for an open and honest conversation. I think, and two guys of our age, of a certain age, essentially being vulnerable, which I think it's worth listening to, because I mean, whether you're a man or a woman, if you're a man, it's a good template. I think it's a good way to recognize, hey, you're not the only one in your own head. And you know what? There's a woman that I used to work with, and this is a small example of how this could benefit someone other than a man. I remember I was telling her a story. One of my first crushes was a girl named Sarah Smith, and I was in the third grade. And I remember going to bed every single night, preoccupied by her, just thinking of her like, obsessively. And I'd fall asleep. And when I wake up in the morning, I would obsessively think of her first thing in the morning. And I remember her just sort of processing that because I don't think she realized that men feel that way too. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I was a kid, I was a little boy, obviously, but like,
Yeah.
I don't think she had really considered that like that's something that a human does. It's not necessarily like that men are heartless or they're all just sex crazed or whatever. Like I had real emotions and feelings, and I was preoccupied by her, and that wasn't even the first, and that definitely wasn't the last. But that's throughout the
Well, it's
lives of a
right on
yeah
the first.
yeah. And then there was a whole restraining order. It was it got ugly, but it was
Yeah.
pretty at first.
These people that you care about, you find yourself caring about them, and it becomes omnipresent, almost like uh oppressive in a sense.
Unhealthy,
So
unhealthy.
yeah, unhealthy. Yeah, but I do think that that's something that's very present in the manosphere, is this kind of unhealthy obsession. But it's something that I think you learn, as you get older, you learn to kind of control and deal with. Okay, I've got these impulses that are rooted in something good, but are not necessarily coming out in a great way.
Well, and that's a really, really good point because you said, oh, you learn to control, and that is not always the case. And in fact, I think
Yeah.
that's probably not the case in most instances because I think a lot of guys they just impose themselves whether it's criminal or not, like it's a whole other thing, but like I mean that's where a lot of this like chauvinistic misogyny comes in play because they're like, no, this is what I want,
Yeah.
this is what I want, this is what I feel, and that's more valid than anything you woman or person um has to offer back, you know what I'm saying? And
Well,
like
yeah.
go ahead.
And for a long time, all our media told us that's what we should do. We should be Ducky or whatever from whatever 80s movies, where as long as we're there and we're obsessing and we're focused and we're determined and we don't give up. But like, it's only been in the last 10, 20 years that the other side of that's like, no, this is like harassment
Yeah.
and it's really
Yeah,
terrible.
we
It's
we actually don't like this is not a demonstration of your
yeah.
passion.
Yeah, but and you can see why, like people, young men that don't really understand this stuff would have a really negative reaction to, this traditional view of masculine romance of just like being dogged and like I'm going to get what I want. Like that's not the way this works. You have to consider the agency of the other person and like so much more. But in any case, you can see some of the roots of why people that see these movies and are like, yeah, that guy won, and then are confronted with like, no, that's actually not a great thing, and there you can see why they would have a negative reaction to it in some
Well, and
cases.
and it's not even necessarily influenced by media because if you go back to, I mean, you made a joke about being a stalker when I was a
Yeah.
child, but if you go back to that example, I was independently obsessed with this girl. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not like I mean, I wasn't scary or anything. She had a crush on me
Yeah.
too, actually. But
You're a
that
handsome guy.
that was well, totally. And you should see me when I was in third grade. But I had this obsession with this girl, and well, I can't say obsession. Come on, I was a kid, but I had this fixation on this other girl, and that was inherent. That was born with that. You know what I'm saying? That was something that just came out of me. And I guess you could argue it was media that I watched on television or whatever. But like, I mean, that was an emotion that I felt,
Yeah.
and that itself, regardless of if I were in Western civilization, Eastern civilization, on a desert island, that could have spiraled into something unhealthy or dangerous or whatever. You know
Sure.
what I'm saying? Like that's just, I think, as not even just as men, I'd say maybe mostly men, because women can get a little kooky as well, and other people who don't identify as either way. But guys specifically can. I mean, well, I don't have to say we can be dangerous. So obviously, there's statistically we're monsters.
Yeah. Not all men are represented by this sample, but
Yeah, yes, yes. And again, there's going to be a whole lot of generalization in this,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm going to attempt to not apologize every time I do it, but just to know that it's there.
Carlos, tell me about what you recall about our little meet cute, our little relationship start.
So our meet cute. So first, I guess we should say that you're living in Prague, Czech Republic right now,
Yes.
or Czechia, as the Czechs hate. And I was living there as well. I think I was there for almost 6 years. Jody, my wife, was there for about 10 years, and she had started a immigration company. I don't know what you describe, where she helps
Visa.
foreigners. Yeah, a visa
Yeah.
company. There you go. Where she helps foreigners get legal status in the country. Not necessarily like refugee status or anything, but like they're just expats that are there wanting to stay for an extended period of time. So she would help them out with that because she does speak the language. And the expat community, I'm sure it's the same as it was back in the day, but was rather small. I mean, there's a ton of people there, but there's always names that come up, like you're on
Mhm.
Facebook or whatever social media. So I knew of you. We weren't friends, but I'd seen you pop up all over the place, and you also had been doing immigration work as well, if I recall.
Yeah, yeah. I
Is
had a
that is
visa
that was that
company.
specifically what it was?
Yeah.
No, well, you know what? I don't remember anymore. I remember we met as a business transaction. We met at a restaurant, and I can't remember what I was buying off you. I
I
was buying something
I
off you, wasn't I?
No, I think you had written me to see if we might work together or something,
Okay.
and in visa, working together on visas, and yeah, we met in, was it Tlusty Koala or something like that?
Yes, that's the
The
one.
fat
Yeah.
koala, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I think you had
I
just
don't
been
know.
married, like a month before or something like that, or very recently you had just been married.
That sounds right.
I think
Yeah.
I think so because I remember I congratulated you, even though it was just kind of seemed like the classic thing to do. And
Yeah.
I was looking at your profile and I saw that you were married.
Yeah, so like what do you remember about it?
I remember being a little awkward, and because I think you were like a minute late or something like that, and I commented on it. And you're like, "I'm not late," and I'm like, "No, no, no, you're not late." But I for some reason I brought that up. I remember going home and telling Jody. I don't remember a ton about the conversation, but I remember going home and telling Jody that I liked this guy and that I think we could be friends with him. And that's the beginning of our love story, really.
Yeah,
What do you
yeah.
remember?
So I don't remember being late, fittingly, um, but I remember, in a way that I don't get this feeling very often. I remember starting to talk with you and thinking, oh, this guy's funny, he's clever, I get along well with him, and I think we were mostly complaining about clients. But yeah, we were talking, and I think I made the extremely bold move of saying, I think I get along well with you. Do you want to like hang out sometime? Which I don't think I've ever done, man or woman, in like the rest of my life.
No kidding.
No
Wow.
kidding. I'm very shy and sensitive to rejection. So yeah, so like I just was like, you know what? Here's a guy that I think I could get along with. So I took that bold step. And then I think neither of us wrote each other for like weeks.
Well, that checks out. I was gonna say, and it popped in my head earlier when we were talking. I've had guys before sort of reach out and be like, "Hey, you want to hang out?" And like, we weren't friends before,
Mhm.
or we were acquaintances, and they wanted to hang out, and I've always shrunk away from that for some reason. I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, yeah, yeah." I'll be like, "Yeah, yeah, for sure," and then I just don't do it. Like I don't like it's out of my comfort zone. I don't want to do it. So it was unusual for you to offer, and it was unusual for me to respond apparently because I normally don't either,
Yeah.
which is unhealthy. For the record, is unhealthy for me, and I think it's a habit that needs to be re-examined, at least for a lot of guys like us, or me anyway.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And
So what else?
I'm trying to be a little bolder in my older age, like just in the last year or so. I'm trying to be reaching out even to old friends and to people that I meet now and say, "All right, I want to like grow and nurture some relationships,
Yeah,
whether they be new or old." And
yeah.
it doesn't always work out.
No, no, it
but
doesn't.
I'm trying to kind of manicure this healthier social system, especially after COVID. I was already kind of an introvert, but then after COVID I was like, I'm fine, I'm by myself, I don't care.
Oh, dude,
And
I was thriving during COVID. I'm like, this is perfect.
yeah,
I can use COVID as an excuse to never leave the house.
yeah. And it took really years before I finally was kind of like, you know what, I think I might not be fine
Yeah,
being like just like my wife's my best friend and stuff, but just my wife has a full life with friends and work and all kinds of stuff. And I need more than just one friend that's
yeah,
very busy.
yeah. No, I got you on this. But it's essentially the same situation with me. I've reached out to several friends of mine and just reconnected with them. You know what I mean? In like a healthy, rich way. And as far as nurturing new relationships, on my end, I don't have a ton to really nurture here. And I think part of and here is in New Brunswick, Canada, is where I'm at now. And I think part of that though is it's a mindset that I'm okay with having. I recognize that it's maybe not the healthiest. Is that I look at the menu of people that I've got around me, and this is like no, shade to those who might become aware of this statement. Is I like them. I think they're funny, they're great, they're interesting. I don't necessarily have a desire to hang out with them. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's a very small group of people that I feel that way about, or that I feel like spending time with. And as I've gotten older, I've become more and more okay with that actually. And is that healthy? I don't know. I think in the long run, like you said, Jody is my best friend too. But if something were to happen to her, I
Oh
would be
man,
alone. I'd be alone out here.
it'd be the end. It'd be
Yeah,
the
I,
end.
I would be completely by myself. I mean,
Yeah.
I think maybe I would adjust. Maybe I would. Okay, now I've come out of my shell a little bit, but
Yeah.
boy, that's starting from square one. In my however old I would be, I'm already 45. You know what I mean?
I'm kind of a similar vein. I do have a little bit more opportunity to talk to people, but I think one of the problems that I've always had of if I don't feel like that immediate connection and kinship,
Hmm.
I'm kind of like, well, you're fine, and like there have even been people that I was quite close with, but I never felt like they were close with me, even if I saw them a lot. And so if I don't feel that kinship, it's it's often not what I'm looking for. And part of my getting older and oh, well, I need to actually like try to make that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not just going to be instantaneous. And that's, it's hard because when you were, as we talked about, like when you're a kid and you're in school, it's forced upon you.
Right.
You're around people, and even if it doesn't come immediately, it comes. And at work and things like that. But I don't work around a lot of people,
Right.
and I don't go to school anymore. But like trying to say, okay, I've got to make this happen. I've got to create the situation to make relationships feel like real relationships and
Hmm.
not just like hanging out sometimes.
Well, the time that we all spent together, you, me, Jess, and Jody, was pretty regular. I'd say once, maybe even twice a week. Sometimes we play games
Yeah.
and and
Yeah.
chit chat and this and that. But there was always, I feel like, it was just intellectual, and there was just not there was an emotional barrier there. Like we never really, I don't know. Like I mean, we connected and we became good friends. I think, but I there was depth, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it wasn't that deep. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
feel like there was always just something there, something cordial between us,
Sure.
formal, which I
Oh,
find odd considering like how well we got along and
yeah.
all the weird similarities we have, which we'll get into. There are quite a few of them, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can be a bit of an ass, and
I can
and you
confirm that. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, yeah, and you could never quite get the hang of mahjong. So between those two things, that's already
in my
that's already a bit of a wall.
in my defense, mine was an intellectual laziness with mahjong because I knew that the three of you knew how to play it, and I just needed
Yeah.
to show up, and I would relearn how to play every single time.
Well, and you'd win,
I
so it
would
was
win.
fine. There was
You
no
know,
need.
yeah. There
There
was
was no
no.
need to learn it better.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? If you guys want me to play, you teach me every time. This is how it's going to be.
Yeah, but
Right
yeah,
on.
I mean, we like I think just to kind of give a little window about how close, like when my wife had our youngest child, our older child stayed with you guys, because we're expats, we don't have family here. Our friends are our family, and I remember when you guys left, like we were very happy for you, but we were also just very sad
Yeah.
that like two of our closest friends in the world were going away.
Right.
And we did kind of know what that meant, because when you've moved internationally, you sort of know how those relationships go.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to keep
Yeah.
them up in any kind of real
Mhm.
way. And you might get together and it might be just the same, but most of the time it's not really there. So yeah, there was a deep connection, but there's always sort of these walls, and I think learning to break down those walls, especially as you get older, and learning to do it faster as you get older,
Yeah.
because
Because you
there's
got
more limited time with some people.
the candle's halfway burnt.
Yeah, yeah. So it just becomes more important. And I think learning those skills and putting those skills on display is something that's important for me. And it's if my kids should ever be so bored as to happen to listen to one of these, hopefully they'll take something away from it.
All right. So, well, that's a brief history. We've got a ton more to talk about, but at the risk of rambling for too long, what might our episodes look like? Like what so we got a loose kind of outline.
Yeah, I think we'll start off with some subject or some question, and a lot of it will be a kind of free form conversation. Maybe in some cases, might do a little research, but for the most part, I think it's going to be you and me talking about how we feel about a particular question or a particular subject, and if that ties into things, we may have some little fun, like communique from the manosphere, where we look at something that's going on in the manosphere at that moment, whether it's not pleasing a woman being a good thing, or
Right.
or whatever.
Being a manly
And
thing.
yeah, being a manly thing, again, it's that incompetence thing, and
Yeah.
just have a little bit of fun with that, and then we'll have some kind of outro, which I believe is probably on its way up.
Yes, and we'll introduce them as we go. But I think we had discussed maybe doing something fun like a rosebud thorn, as you described to me, where what is something that is in full blossom in your life. And please correct me if I'm wrong. Something that's full
Yeah.
blossom in your life, something that's sort of budding and has potential. Um, something always, something never. Kind of a play on the
Yeah.
misogynistic Mary F. Kill, which is
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's an
But
ugly thing, but
reclaiming it
we're
and turning it
reclaiming it.
into something positive and fun, because
Yes.
it can be a fun thing as long as you kind of repurpose it.
I think it could be. In fact, when I was playing around with some possible questions, like when you add like a historical figure like Abraham Lincoln into it, it's good stuff. And
Well,
then the other
I
one,
said to I said to my wife, we were doing maybe always, sometimes never, like with food, and she's like, "Oh, I'd marry tacos."
that's funny. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
well. There you go. There you go. See, it works. We are going to start with this 36 questions that lead to love. This was an article written by Daniel Jones in 2015 in the New York Times. And it's just, as Skip was saying before, a set of questions that you can ask someone that you want to know more intimately. I thought that was great that you do that with Jess when you guys were in the beginning of your relationship. I wish that I had thought of it. I mean, I know everything there is to know
we
about Jody now.
Yeah, yeah.
But
We still do it sometimes.
yeah,
It's just
yeah,
sometimes it's kind of a fun thing to check
yeah,
in
and
on.
I think that's a good idea. And yeah, I might do the same thing with Jody. Maybe not these questions, but maybe so. I don't know what they all are. Anyway, first one I'll ask you.
All right.
Um, I haven't. I looked at the first few of them just so I could get an idea of what they are, and I kind of wish I
Mhm.
looked at more because now I'm going to be on the spot. And luckily, the magic of editing can make me not look like a buffoon. Okay, so first
Well,
question
I
is.
haven't looked at any, so here we go.
Oh, okay, okay. All right. So, given the choice of anyone in the world, whom would you want as a dinner guest?
Ooh, okay. Anyone in the world, and I'm assuming that we're talking alive.
I guess so. I mean, I guess if there's somebody that you really feel strongly about who's no longer with us, you can have dinner with that person.
Yeah. Let's think. So yeah, my mind goes in several different directions. Like, one is my nerdy science side, and I'd want to find like a scientist, like a Neil deGrasse Tyson type. And he actually, I think, has a nice sense of humor, so that could be fun. Another thing is just to like just go to dinner with somebody really funny. And I don't know who I think the funniest person is right now, because I don't listen to a lot of stand-up comedy, but just pick a comedian. John Mulvaney. I don't know. Yeah, just I think that would be really fun. There's not, like, I'm not somebody that tends to idolize people.
Right.
Um, I tend to like real people that haven't like manicured their image to the world, because when you see somebody on social media, you don't know what they're really like or anything like that. So I tend to like real people. Yeah, I think there's also a sickly sweet part of me that's like my wife or Carlos, you know. I'd like to just have dinner with somebody that I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I'll go with Neil deGrasse Tyson, I guess,
Okay.
just for fun. He's a smart guy. I'd love to just shoot the shit with him. What
Yeah.
about
Okay.
you?
I was struggling with that. I mean, I did look at it. I'd forgotten what the question was until just now, so
Yeah.
I'm not totally prepared either. But when you said somebody funny, that like really clicked with me because I'm just like you. I don't idolize people. I never have. And even when I was a kid, I remember people asking like, "Who do you want to be like?" Or I'll be like Wolverine. That's who I want to be like because it wasn't even a real person. So yeah, I was struggling with this just now as well. And but a comedic personality would be fantastic. I would love to.
Yeah.
I'd be super intimidated because he's so brilliant, but I would love to have a chat with Jon Stewart. That guy's so
Oh yeah,
smart.
that's
He's
great.
so
That's a great
funny,
one. Yeah.
such a funny guy, and so relevant. And I would just love to hear what he has to say and what he thinks about certain things. But my first one that popped in my head, you derailed me when you said a comedian. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, no, that's what I want. My first one, it's not exactly an individual. It's anyone of this group actually. And I'd mentioned it to you guys some time ago, but there was a podcast called the Telepathy Tapes,
Yeah, yeah,
and
you told me about that.
it's a kind of a not an investigation, just a look at there's a growing body of evidence that shows that people with nonverbal autism um, are telepathic, which sounds hilarious and sounds ridiculous. I totally get it. But it's a really, really convincing story. So um, I would love to have maybe dinner with somebody, anyone who is nonverbal and autistic. I guess if you're somebody with nonverbal autistic child, you might be like, whoa, that's like a bull in a china shop potentially. And I hope that's not
Yeah.
rude, but I don't mean for that to be insulting in any way. But I would like that because I'm curious how that would go because as long as they can communicate back, which they can in these, they have a way of communicating with others via like iPad or whatever. But I'm curious, like I'd like to try that out and see what they can actually pick up. I mean, I don't need to be convinced. I already believe it. I would just like to see it in action. You know what I mean? So
Sure,
that'd
sure,
be
sure.
really really interesting to me. You want to do one
Yeah.
more, or do you want to?
Oh no, I want to. John Stewart was a really interesting one,
Oh,
and the
okay.
thing that made me think of immediately was if I went to John Stewart, my big worry would be that I used to be really good at being funny and being conversational,
Yeah.
but I would feel like such a brick
Yeah.
next to him, and he'd be like trying to keep the conversation going, and I'd be like, yeah, and and it'd be like a work day for him. That would be my worry.
Well, and you know, with me, it would be because I've seen enough interviews that he's conducted where you can see where he likes the guest and you can see
Yeah.
where he intellectually respects the guest. And if I picked up in any way that this was a chore for him, I'd say, "Oh my God, I would spiral." I'd say, this isn't going well for me."
So let's open it up though, because you got me thinking about when you said Wolverine. So like, let's slowly broaden the
Okay.
possibilities. Okay, so
Okay.
alive or dead. My first thought, comedian. It's either uh, Robin Williams,
Okay.
which I don't know if I could listen fast enough, um, or Richard Pryor because he's just
Oh man,
amazing.
Richard Pryor it would be way up there
Yeah.
for me. Yeah. Yeah.
So like one of those guys for sure. If it was alive or dead, I think as far as comedians go, that would be an easy thing. Then if I was going science, I'd pick maybe Carl Sagan or something like that. Somebody with sort of that huge view of things,
Right.
and just see like it'd be just interesting to talk to them to see if they were always had that big view, or if they got their order slightly wrong and they go, god damn it.
Yeah.
oh, okay. You're a human. You do have these little quibbles as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But you also have these kind of amazing views of the universe from far away, and
Let me interject.
so yeah.
let me
Yeah.
interject really quickly. I recently read I don't know if it was an article or something stupid on Facebook. The man with the highest IQ in the world, he was like he had like a fifth grade education or whatever, but self taught all this stuff, and he was a bouncer, all these things. I'm like, well, that's really neat. Like apparently he's got one of the highest IQs, and he's taught himself all these languages, but he's also like a replacement theory advocate and like anti this, anti that, and like white supremacist. I'm like, oh well. So going further, what you said, yeah, I don't understand it, but I don't understand how
Yeah.
those guys can get influenced by things like that. But
For listeners, I have a master's degree in statistics, and the specialization that I did was educational and psychological testing. And the actual like tests can kind of fairly reliably get out to like 160. Anything above that is, kind of an imaginary number. Like you can go and see very particular specialists and get measured,
okay,
but it's all very kind of wavy above that.
why
So like,
is that though? Is that just well, why is that?
well, it's very difficult to, at 160, you're several standard deviations away from the norm. So at that point, there's not a whole lot to set up a measurement for at those far ends of that bell curve. A lot of how we do this is through standardization, through taking thousands and thousands and thousands of measurement. And if you only have a handful of people in the world that score above a certain thing, there's not really a way to standardize that and kind of find differences. And there's some arguments about IQ in general as a measurement and different things. I don't want to get too nerdy and statisticky, but like because there are like what we call diff, so like different populations score differently on it because they're inherently geared towards what some people would consider the normal
Right,
population
right,
or
right.
English speakers or this like that. And there are tests that try and adjust to these things. I'm not up on exactly how successful they are, but when people are claiming they have the highest IQ in the world, they're almost certainly bullshitting you.
Yeah, okay, okay. Well, I pretty much believe everything I
Yeah.
read. So, and
Yeah.
it was on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, Facebook, there you
Yeah,
go.
there. I mean, it's pretty valid. It's pretty valid. So it's been
Yeah.
peer reviewed.
Yeah.
Anyway, but he's a smart guy. At the very least, I'll give him
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
I don't even know why I went off on this tangent, but yeah, apparently even the smart ones can be pretty stupid. So
Yeah, well, and I think there's different kinds of reasoning, right? There's some you can kind of get some pure logic, some pure logical questions, but that doesn't necessarily mean when you get to complicated levels of rigorous thought that you're capable of doing that,
right.
because those kind of things you can't test in kind of a quick questionnaire form. But yeah,
Well, yeah, there's not a sociological question set for that yet. Like
right.
there's so much information out there that we're unpacking as far as how the internet and algorithms are influencing what we're consuming and how that's affecting a boomer versus what is it, Gen Alpha? You know what I'm saying? There's
Yeah.
totally different
There's too
responses.
many generations now.
Yeah.
There's so many of them. They're okay. So let's expand it. Fictional characters, obviously Wolverine for you.
Yes. Well, that was my 1988 pick for sure.
A lovely dinner with Wolverine.
A lovely day with Wolverine. Yeah. And you know what? The proper 5 foot nothing Wolverine. I don't want this 6 foot
Oh yeah,
two Hugh Jackman
sure.
prince.
Stubby
Yeah.
like a Cuban cigar.
I want a hairy little guy.
Yeah. So Danny DeVito.
Oh, yes, he'd be a good. He's an ideal Wolverine.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. What do you think? Are there any like fictional characters that pop to mind that you'd love to just chat with?
Well, I suppose I just off the cuff a fictional character. Let me think. A book that I've read probably the most in my whole life, and I've read it many times, is The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. I mean, if we're completely doing, if I'm really investing into this whole like
Yeah.
fictional mindset, I'd like to know what the time traveler had to say about his journeys. That's I mean, I'm buying into the universe, but yeah, I don't know. I hadn't thought about it.
Sure.
What about you? I'll reflect as we continue.
Yeah. So my two of my favorite books. One is The Little Prince. And I know that it's sort of a children's book, but it's like an adult philosophical book masquerading as a children's book.
Okay, I've never read it actually. I
It's
know of it.
really,
Yeah.
oh man, you're gonna love it. I
Okay.
read it I read it once a year. I had never read it. When I was walking across the U.S.,
Uh-huh.
somebody gave me it and said, this is you," and I was like, "Well, I don't know what to say to that," and I still don't know I still don't know what to say to that, or if it was true. But I love it. I love the book, and it's beautiful. It's a quick read. You could read it in a night.
Okay.
I can't suggest it enough.
It's
So
in
I
the
would.
public domain. Yeah, I can download it on my Kindle for nothing.
I don't know. I don't know if it is, but it's got to be cheap. It's so
Yeah,
highly available.
sure. Okay.
But in any case, I'd love to sit down with the Little Prince, and if you've read the book, I don't know how that conversation would go, but
In
but I
French,
think
no?
it would. Yeah, in French, yeah. But I just think I'd enjoy that. The other one that I love is Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, and I'd love to just have a conversation with Siddhartha
Okay.
and just kind of like see what it's like to be so goddamn chill.
Yeah. To be enlightened.
Yeah. Like, what
That
are you gonna tell me something? Say something about a branch on a tree that's gonna blow my
yeah.
goddamn mind.
Yeah. Well, that's funny. Most not most people. I guess most Westerners would say, Jesus. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess the Buddha's pretty good. That's a
Yeah.
pretty good chat.
Well, it's actually so that I was telling you on break that I had written this story about. There's that famous question about what 5 people would you invite to dinner, living
Yeah.
or dead, or whatever.
Mhm.
And I wrote a story in which one of the characters invited 3 G's.
Jeez,
So that they accidentally invited 3 Jesuses.
that's so funny.
And there was like the American painting where he's got the Constitution one,
Yeah.
and there was kind of like this biblical
Jeez.
one. There was like a biblical one, and then there was an archaeological Jesus, like what we would think of as kind of this real person, and he's
Yeah.
he's really dark skinned and doesn't speak English, and
Right. And
so
like 5'4" probably.
right. So at this dinner there were 3 different Gizai at this dinner, which never happened. So when you said the first thing that people would invite, it was for this guy. It was first, second, and third.
That's funny. You know what?
Yeah,
I guess I would be like the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. Those are the three.
yeah,
If there's 3 of
yeah.
them and they're all spiritual, I guess let's just get
You
them
get
all
one
in the
guy.
get them all in the same room. Yeah.
You get one guy for that.
They're like what's up? Like what's up? Where are the rest of you guys? Okay. So for our very first outro, we are going to play a game called Always Something Never, which is a perversion of a nasty game that we won't be repeating again. And in this case, we're talking about pizza toppings. I don't know. Should we list out the pizza toppings, or are we just saying what we feel?
No, just say what you feel.
All right.
Say
Well,
what you feel if you've got it. So for me, am I going first?
yes, do it.
All right.
Oh wait. And baseline is cheese. Yeah.
Baseline is you can't call cheese. You can't call cheese.
Okay.
Cheese is too easy.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess for me, always is pepperoni. It's just it's a standard. It's a deep love for me. A
This is
good
very, very
Diavola,
interesting. Very, very
a
interesting
good
for me.
Diavola pizza for me, which isn't technically pepperoni, but that's really great.
Okay, that's an always.
That's an always. Sometimes is jalapenos, just because I love them, but I'm getting older,
Yeah, I
and
got you.
I,
Wink,
I can only
wink.
I can only have jalapenos sometime, and sometimes I pregame with some Tums beforehand.
I get
So
that.
yeah,
I
I
get that.
really enjoy it, but I can't always do it. And never, I mean, there's so many things like broccoli.
Okay, sure.
I can't imagine. I'm sure that there is pizza with broccoli on it.
I think
I'm
you
sure.
know what? If you imagine if it's steamed first, it could be probably a delight. I think I could be on board with broccoli.
Okay, there's nothing that I would hate more than broccoli
Really?
in any form, anywhere.
Cool. Then I've got one, but
Okay.
that will be my never. But it's not exactly a pizza topping. But well, whatever. Let's just go. Okay, so are you finished? I'm sorry, I don't want to cut into your
No,
pizza
yeah,
analysis.
I think I'm pretty much done. I mean, I could just add that, like, the first George Bush, it's one of the few things that I really appreciated about him is his famous quote, "I'm president of the United States and I don't have to eat my broccoli if I don't want to." So,
Didn't he
it was
ban
just
it
a
on Air Force
gem.
One? Didn't he ban
It
that
was a
on Air Force
gem.
One? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So my always would be as a pizza topping would be jalapenos. Always, I got to do
Mm,
it.
mm.
And like you, I do get some. There are some consequences to that, but I love it. Sometimes I'd say black olives are my sometimes because
Ooh, that's a
no,
never.
I really. Yeah, I like black olives. Jody hates them as well, which is great because whenever we get like something with black olives in it, I get them, and she gets my
Yeah.
tomatoes because I'm not wild about tomatoes. Yeah.
How does she feel about once it's because I feel like olives just permeate the cheese, and like even once you pull it off, that piece is ruined.
No, she
How
won't
does she
get
feel?
she won't get them with olives. Period. Like
Yeah.
that'll be
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Okay.
I add olives to stuff, and like if we make salads or whatever, if we buy a pre-made salad, she'll just pull the olives off and toss them onto my bowl.
Yeah, I do the same. Me and my wife do the same thing with red onions.
Oh, you don't like red onions, or she doesn't?
Oh, I love red
Yeah,
onions.
same. Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
eat them raw. Yeah.
Oh no. Well, I eat them raw, chopped up in a certain
Yeah.
like in a salad or something. But yeah, I like onions too a lot. So where am I at here? So my always is jalapenos. My sometimes is I mean,
Olives.
my sometimes is borderline always black olives. I love
Mm,
them
mm.
in combination with onions. It doesn't have to be any specific type of onion, but when you combine the black olives and onions, oh, it's like then it becomes an
Chef's
always.
kiss.
The two together
Yeah.
become an always. Okay. And my never, I have to say, I've been vegetarian for just over a year now. Well, yeah. But even before that, my never is pepperoni, which is funny because that's
Mm,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
I've never been a fan. I'll eat them. They don't make me gag or anything, but like I can totally eat them, and I'm not going to be disgusted by them.
Yeah.
Like I just don't like them on pizza. But if I were to pick something wild like broccoli, carrots, can't do it. Can't do.
I can't even imagine. Is that like a real thing? Do people put carrots on
Well,
pizza?
no, but I don't think broccoli is either, or is it?
Okay.
I've never heard of pizza broccoli on pizza
I
before.
feel like it's on the bread. If I had to pick, I mean, my list of nevers for pizza, I think is like is a lot
Expensive.
longer than my always. Yeah, yeah.
I'm not a super
Uh,
picky eater though. I could pretty much eat anything. I'm not. I just choose certain things because I try to be healthy. I try to be healthy.
when I was young, I would go through phases with eating, and there was like a solid year where I'd only eat hot dogs, and then like one day, uh, just hot dogs were done. No
Yeah.
more hot dogs. I don't want any hot dogs. It's all chicken nuggets now, and it's only chicken nuggets. And my parents, like my dad's family's from Texas, and they're like, if you don't feed that boy, he'll eat whatever you want. And they'd try that stuff.
What, let me ask you something,
Yeah,
because as you know, I'm from Texas as
yeah.
well. Is your family really? Were you putting that accent on, or that's how they sound? They're from East
Oh
Texas,
no,
I guess.
that's how they were from Burke Burnett, Texas, which
Where
is
is it?
outside Wichita Falls.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
A
so
little northeastish.
yeah, north central, I
Okay,
think,
okay.
yeah. But yeah, yeah, that'd be Grandma Billy. Grandma Billy would say, if you wait, that boy'll eat whatever you want him to.
You know what?
But
This is the
they've
fact.
tried that.
This is the fact. This is the fact of the podcast for me. I did not realize. Like I knew you had some ties to Texas and Austin
Yeah,
specifically because you spent some time there as well,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
which is where I'm from. But I didn't realize that your family was like straight up Texas, because that's
oh yeah,
yeah, okay.
Texan. Yeah, but it didn't work. I would literally starve to death before eating. Before eating some things. We had dinners where my parents had instituted like a 3 bites rule, and we would be sitting there for hours, and it would be like it. I'd put a little bit of broccoli in my mouth, and I would just retch and
That's
spit
so
it back
funny.
out.
You know what? I pretty much ate whatever they put in front of me. The few times I remember sitting there like in protest was there is usually like and I stand by that it was unreasonable for them to do this to me, but and it probably wasn't just me and my sisters as well, but we'd get like the frozen vegetables, you know what I mean? And they just like heat them up
Yeah,
in the
bird's
microwave.
eye.
And I don't know what is this the brand, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what brand, but a medley of vegetables frozen,
Uh huh.
heat them up in the microwave and toss them in front of me. Sometimes with butter, I guess, but like
Like peas, carrots, and corn. Is
yeah,
that?
lima
Yeah, yeah,
beans and like just whatever was there, and it just had no flavor. It had no. They weren't cooked very
yeah.
well, and and I feel like that's pretty unreasonable to make a kid to make a kid eat that stuff without seasoning. For goodness sake, you know.
Yeah. All right, I think that'll be about it for us today. Thanks for joining us. New podcast every week. If any part of this show has resonated with you, let us know at outsidethemanosphere@gmail.com. That's all one word, the Outside the Manosphere part. We hope you'll come back, and see you next time.
Thanks.